What is going on, guys? Heylow here, bringing you a little bit of a sneak peek at some of the new DLC content for Total War Warhammer 2. So, a wonderful, wonderful person on the forum managed to slap together little edits of all of the unit cards from the Everchosen tournament that we got to watch today. So, managed to snag this shit, and we're going to take a look at it real quick. So, it shouldn't be too long, but want to give you guys a little bit of a preview of some of the unit cards in case people missed it. So we're going to start left to right, and we're going to go over some of these and just kind of get a brief talk about some of the game-changing that's going to come to the meta with these new additions to both the Skaven and Lizardmen. All right, so to start, Whan, if I'm pronouncing that correctly, the new Lizardmen Lord. Pretty awesome. Seen him taken quite a few times in the Everchosen tournament. Flying Missile Cab to start, anti-infantry armor piercing, and he also has poison. Not too bad. 75 armor, pretty high leadership as well, and he's quick. So it seems like he's going to be a decent pick. Definitely can see that coming in. I believe Falcon brought him flying with Lord Croak on the ground. So it seems like a very, very solid combination. Could be replacing Mazdamundi in a couple matchups where you no longer need the Slann because you have Lord Croak, who's a hero. And then you can have your flying, like, AP anti-infantry Lord just kind of going around gooting things. So pretty interesting there. We also have Whan on his, like, with the monster profile when he's on the Stegodon. Also very nice. Still has poison, armor piercing anti-infantry with the poison missiles. 140 armor. Again, very high leadership at 85. Pretty quick with the 50 speed. But yeah, it seems like he's going to be pretty beefy. Lots of ammunition. He's going to be able to just kind of sit in the fight. Physical resistance as well as a little bit of damage mitigation there with the gold, just like damage resistance. So going to be very, very tanky. Kind of a non-caster version of Mazdamundi on the Ancient Stegodon. But yeah, definitely looking pretty solid. We're also going to have him on his basic foot sword infantry over here in the middle. And I'll kind of zoom in a little bit on that for you. But we're going to have him sitting at 3,000 HP, so not super durable. He is a skink after all. 75 armor, though, looking very, very solid. He is going to have a small hitbox. He's a very small model. So little guy there, skink, packing a bit of a punch, though. Armor piercing with 400 weapon strength and 55 melee attack with poison. I mean, imagine if Wulfric had some AP. That'd be awesome. You have to put him on a chariot for that, but little skink guy here on foot rocking some pretty solid punch. So maybe see him as an alternative if you don't want to get sniped. But I still think as far as foot characters go, if you're going to be Lizardman, you're probably going to more see Krokar on foot. Maybe the Scarvets or the Old Blood. But he does have poison, so maybe you'll see him every now and again comboing with good old Lord Croak. But to the next unit, the Ancient Salamander here, one of the new single entity monsters, very exciting. We got to see him a little bit here and there, but nothing too crazy coming out of him so far. Talking to some of the players in the tournament, apparently it's very good, but it takes a patient game, it would seem. 20 ammunition, 34 melee attack with fire damage. This guy seems like he's going to be pretty solid on a lot of matchups where you're going to come up against undead. Definitely a solid pick. The big thing is his 470 missile damage. Watching it during some of the matches, you might have noticed that it kind of comes out like a bomb, like a big fireball. It has an arc, and then it causes that splash damage. So you got to be very careful about this. This could be a big game changer for the Lizardman Chaos matchup, where a lot of people, one of the big concerns is like halberd infantry and things like that, and like the heavily armored infantry. So chosen with halberds may not be a safe way to go. You bring one of these guys, and he's just going to be running around harassing your infantry. And they play that long game. They pull their lines back, and this guy just goes out, pops a shot, nails your elite infantry, and just really draws the match out until you're basically getting rolled over with the scrap army you have left. So it could be very nice. 365 weapon strength with AP. Nothing too crazy there monster-wise. Still definitely a solid punch, but nothing ridiculous. Leadership is decent at 65, so you definitely don't want to get this guy too surrounded because Fimir have a similar leadership, and they have the same problem where if you're not careful and they get gooned on, they can rout very quickly. Got solid armor, though, at 95 with 4,500 HP, so you don't want to get this guy into, like, a monster mash because he's definitely going to lose. Come up against, like, Shaggoths, Giants, things like that. He is not going to hold out against the 6,500 from Kolak or like the 9,000 from a Giant. but very, very good tool nonetheless. Red-crested skinks. These guys, massive, massive game changer. You can see 90 models with 6k HP. Basically, what it seems like is they're a better version of Marauders with great weapons. Very high model count. Pretty solid weapon strength, 26 with armor piercing. Decent charge bonus for a cheap unit. 62 leadership, so they're decent. They'll sustain for a pretty good amount of time with some support. 30 armor isn't horrible either. They do have fairly low melee defense, but that's kind of the thing with great weapon infantry, you know, especially the great axes like Chaos Warriors, all that good stuff. They have that big punch, but lack of shields. They're not too high on the defense. So these guys are going to be huge. They do have immune to psychology as well. So they're going to do a really good job of supporting your infantry fights, and you can actually pull off like a no shit skink build now. You have skinks, red crested skinks for some AP, maybe bring some Croxagores if you really want to go punchy with it. But yeah, these guys are a big game changer. I think it's going to be really awesome for Chaos and the Dwarf matchup. Not really going to have to worry too much about armored infantry with the combination of like the Salamander, the red crested skinks, a couple other new units on the roster. Going to make a big, big difference. The Colossadon Hunters, the new Ripperdactyls, the Regiment of Renown, AP and Anti-Large. These guys are awesome. Apparently, Ripperdactyls are very expensive. I believe I heard something about 1,500 for one of the Ripperdactyl units, but definitely not cheap. It could be very nice against the like counts, maybe the coast. If you have these guys flying around going after large flying targets, maybe high elves as well with dragons, eagles, all that good stuff that are fairly common in the Lizardmen versus high elf matchup. But AP anti-large, no joke, 130 weapon strength, only 8 models. You do have to be very careful with them. They're pretty quick with the 90 speed though, and their leadership is definitely pretty up there. 75 is not bad, so they should be sticking around for a good amount of the fight. Frenzy, of course, and they do have Vanguard, so you could put these guys out, maybe catch some Vanguarded like skirmish cav, things like that, and get a good jump on them. The Pak Hopak cohort is next. The Cold One Spear Riders, seeming pretty awesome. These guys pack a pretty mean punch. There were some changes made to Rampage, so now with the non-feral units, the Rampage still has an effect, but they apparently have higher like weapon attack. They basically get a little buff when they're in combat. Instead of like Primal Instincts, Predatory Senses now provides them with like a buff instead of the nonsense negative stuff that you used to have. So apparently they're a lot more viable, very strong units. You can see their stats pretty on par with Cold One Spears, but you know, ROR version, everything kind of gets up tiered a little bit. Vanguard is pretty nice. Immune to Psych, very nice as well. Again, AP Anti-Large going to help a lot in like the Chaos matchups, for example, where you're going to run into Shagus a lot. Can be a very, very big game changer there. Thunderous One, Ancient Stegodon. I heard this guy is a little bit of a meme. You can see 9,800 HP. Very nice health pool. Very, very nice. 140 armor. Very high leadership with 93. He does have poison and the AP anti-infantry, so he's still going to be rampaging around. He does have some innate damage resistance and missile resist as well, which is very, very nice. So this guy's bound ability is apparently pretty awesome to watch. It is like the laser beam, I believe, but lots of fun. Not super effective apparently though, because it does apparently take a long time to kind of get that casted. So like you're thinking like Comet of Cassandora or the boat spell for the coast, things like that. Those really powerful just line effects. Not exactly quick cast, so your opponent does have a chance to dodge it. Missile damage, very high, 898 with poison, of course. But yeah, definitely excited to see this guy. Should be pretty fun. Salamander packs, very fast, 70 speed. So I was expecting these guys to be a little slower, but be more like almost like the Tomb Kings with their what are they called? The snake guys. You know who I'm talking about. The they have like the anti-large spears, and they kind of sit back. They provide some like harassment, and then they can go in and do some decent melee damage. But these guys are faster, much faster. So they're a little more of like a hybrid skirmish cav monster. Very interesting. 24 models. So not tons of HP to work with, but 3,100 isn't bad. They do have AP for their damage, and they do have their like 20 ammo and 80 missile damage. The big thing there is it's bonus versus large. So that's fun. I'm very excited to see how those are going to work out. Because again, in like the Chaos matchups or maybe Tomb Kings where you run into a lot of monster mashes, you also have the fire damage. So you can use these guys to go after like the Tomb King's casters, things like that. And then if they have like the big constructs, you can still beat down on those guys with your anti-large AP missiles. Of course, you do have to look out for your good old-fashioned, what's it called, Ushabti Great Bows, but probably be able to make it work. Ripperdactyl Riders, again, I heard they're very expensive, so I've heard mixed things. Some people like them, some people don't. We got to see a little bit of a preview of them against the Skaven, and I don't know, I wasn't super sold. 130 weapon strength with AP and anti-infantry sounds great, but again, you do have red-crested skinks, so if you're looking for AP anti-infantry, they might be the better way to go. Immune to psychology, frenzy, and I don't know, it seems a lot more cost-effective to go the ground route, but they could be good if you want to go heavy on the air squad and go for some of that goodness. Maybe try and take on some dragons or something with like a wide air force. Could be interesting. But yeah, we'll see some more of them probably on the next episode of Everchosen. But next is the Legion of Chakwa, the Saurus Spear ROR. Pretty typical, basic Saurus warrior. They do have a new ability. I'm not sure what it is because unfortunately I can't highlight over it. But they do seem pretty strong. Very high armor at 75, very high health pool, 7,650. And their weapon strength is, of course, very high, 51 melee defense. So these guys are kind of going to function as a very strong defensive force. I want to say they have Guardian. That might be what that is. I'm trying to remember, but I can't promise you that's what it is. So I'm sure there's more info out there. Try and track it down and drop it in the comments because I would love to know. But yeah, it definitely seemed like a very strong pick if you're going for the infantry line. Maybe support your dinos with it. Anyways, Star Chamber Guardians over here. There's the Guardian trait. These guys are going to be providing that AoE physical resistance to your heroes and whatnot when they're in the close proximity of these guys. 100 models, 10,700 HP with innate damage resistance and your bronze shields. And they're like 108 leadership. Like, these guys are incredible. Very, very powerful. Again, though, you do have to be careful. They're not cheap. As you know, Temple Guards are very expensive. But if your opponent doesn't have like an AoE spell or an effective way to like nuke this unit, if they get in combat, they're going to hold for a super long time. Very high stats with 38 melee attack, poison, and magic damage with AP anti-large with 42 weapon strength. Very, very strong. Cohort of Sotek, Red Skinks, the Crested, Great Axe Infantry, ROR, 120 models versus your basic 90 from the Red Crested Skinks. They are going to have Unbreakable. So these guys, I would say, are almost an auto go-to against Chaos or Dawi. Unbreakable Great Weapon Infantry against heavily armored factions. Yes, please. 40 melee attack, 100 leadership because they're unbreakable. They still have the 30 armor, 8,000 HP between 120 of them. That's a lot of models dropping 26 AP weapon strength hits. Like, you can choose some stuff up with that. Very, very efficient and effective. But Bastillodon with the Arc of Sotek has a really cool AoE with the snakes. Little bit of a debuff. Basically applies an AoE poison, kind of like Blessed with Filth for the Skaven. Seems fairly useful. It's a good support unit, backs up your front line. 7,700, 140 armor, more of your basic Bastillodon stuff. So yeah, just think of it as a Bastillodon with a bound Blessed with Filth, because that's kind of what you're looking at with this guy. Not bad whatsoever. Very durable. You know, your typical Bastillodon, kind of your line breakers, stomps about, providing that terror as well. And then we'll skip on over here to the Ancient Stegodon, Engine of the Gods. Good old-fashioned laser beams. This guy's a beast, 7,400 with 140 armor. Very expensive. I don't know the exact price for you. I'm sure we'll hear some more about it. But again, very durable Ancient Stegodon. I can see this guy being very good against like Greenskins, where the Greenskins already have a tough time bringing down Ancient Stegodons, but you throw this guy in the mix with their like physical resist infantry. Like, a lot of people like to bring Black Orcs or Savage Orc Biggins, and you take this on a blob around an Ancient Stegodon and just start deleting everything. Just delete things. And it's going to be awesome. It's going to be a lot of fun to see how this guy's going to work out for multiplayer. Nothing amazing like melee stat wise, but again, this guy's an absolute tank. You're just going to charge him around and bash into things with his pretty high charge bonus of 70. So very exciting unit. Umbral Tide, the Salamander hunting pack ROR, they do have primal instincts. So, you know, you got to worry about that. They do have a rampage mechanic, much like the other two units. So you got to be very careful with them. If they get too nuked, they are going to run into combat. But they do have perfect vigor, as well as the, I want to say that stalk mechanic. So they can be invisible. So pretty fun. These guys could be really cool against Chaos or Dwarves. You just sneak around with these guys and just drop some brutal AP missiles and then just run off again. So very exciting to see how these guys are going to work out. Could be a blast to run like a Chameleon Skink build with one of these. And you kind of abate your opponent with Chameleon Skinks. And when they go after it, you run these guys in and just get a massive like firing nuke on some cavalry or something. Oh, very, very exciting stuff. Fox Sentinels, or Pahawks, whatever that is. Pterodon Riders. I think we saw them as well. Physical resistance, they have the bomb drops with some missile damage. They seem pretty interesting. Not very high AP. I don't know how often you're going to see these guys. The bombs are apparently very strong, but it could be kind of risky. It seems like a bit of an investment when you can have all of these other very, very strong units. So I'm not sure how much we're going to see them in the multiplayer scene. We'll just skip on down here next. Doomflares, Skaven, phenomenal. These things are absolute monsters. These guys are pretty much a game changer for Skaven. One of the big issues for them was chariots and monsters and not having enough mass, so you'd have to bring rat ogres or something like that. But these things are a beast. AP anti-infantry, mini doom wheels, and apparently they have an armor buff when they're actually in combat, so they're even better. One of the guys that was playing in the testing for this mentioned after Everchosen started that these guys will beat a lot of Empire cavalry, Empire Knights, Reichsguard, all of it, up until you hit like demigryphs and things like that. So they are apparently incredible. They're probably going to single-handedly change the Chaos and Dwarf matchups to be much, much more favorable for the Skaven, as now you have a very reliable way to deal with armored infantry. And it's going to be tough for Dawi. It used to be a close matchup, but I definitely am hearing a lot of things about the Skaven having a very high advantage in that matchup now. Next up, we have the Blightscab's Plague Pack, the Plague Monk Sensor Bearer ROR. Seems pretty solid. Much higher leadership here, 82, looking very good. They do have physical resistance, and they have some, I think they have an immune to psychology AoE buff that's going to be providing a really nice bubble for like your elite units or maybe chaff units as well to keep them from routing from monsters and things like that, which is something that Skaven have a problem with, you know, leadership and terror routes. So very exciting to see them. Otherwise, they have pretty much just like an increased stat line, so just a little more effective, much like your usual RORs, you know. Warplock Jezzails. We're going to kind of skip the ROR and cover these guys real quick. So this is going to be ridiculous. Warplock Jezzails seem incredible so far from what we've seen of them. Armor-piercing missiles, damage dealer, good range. They can provide some major threat from range. 300 range with 39 missile damage and shield breaker and armor piercing. So that's crazy. These guys are going to be fantastic. They can shoot artillery, they can shoot cavalry, they can shoot single entity monsters. It's crazy. Heavily armored infantry. So between the Doomflares and the Warplock Jezzails, Chaos and the Dwarves are going to have one hell of a time trying to deal with this. The Dawi don't have fast movers, so the Dwarves have no way to pressure this unless they have artillery. And Warplock Jezzails can shoot the artillery back without getting in range of Dawi skirmishers. So very curious to see how that's going to work out. Again, you take this against like Chaos, Empire, Bretonia, where like cavalry or heavily armored infantry is a threat. You just start focusing them down from 300 range, and it's going to be tough. It's going to be very tough to deal with. With the 70 armor, it makes them a little bit of a problem because your usual chaff hounds that you would throw into them might not be as effective as you would like them to be. It's like the Thunderer problem. Sure, you can bring some hounds or poison hounds, things like that, but they're not really going to kill thunderers because thunderers have 90 armor and hounds have very, very low AP. So we'll see how they do against these guys. I know watching Professor Pipes and Aerocrastic, he got a really nice charge in with the Empire Knights, and they seem to melt fairly quickly because they only have 2,952 HP. So once you get in there, you should be able to whittle down on 24 models pretty quick. Problem is their armor makes them very sustainable. So we'll see how that develops, like Skaven builds, but I wouldn't be surprised to start seeing some like Vampire Coast-esque wide builds with Jezzails. The ROR here, basically just like a stat buff version with 35 melee defense, which is not bad for these guys. 900 gold, I believe, for Warplock Jezzails, so I'm not sure what these guys are, but I could imagine seeing like 1100 maybe to 1200. But yeah, very strong. We saw them earlier. They have like a sniper trait, and it was ridiculous. They melted the Regiment of Renowned Demigryph Knights, or maybe it was regular Demigryphs, whatever it was, but they neutered them. Absolutely massacred. I want to say 2 volleys, had like 2 solid hits, had those Demigryphs down to like half health. And that's a huge investment in cavalry, and he hadn't even been able to close the gap yet. Like, he wasn't even in combat before he lost that unit of cav. It was absolutely nuts. So these guys, I would say, are almost an auto-include against cavalry factions, monster factions. I want to see how they do against single entities, accuracy-wise, but against cav, where it's not super big of a deal, they absolutely dumpster. So phenomenal unit, very excited to see them, but maybe needing a little balancing on this one. We'll see how it goes. So over here, Clan Vulcan Tail Slashers, the Clan Rats with shields. We're going to be seeing Meat Shield trait. They have some fire resistance, basically fire resistant Clan Rat with fire damage. So could be a fun one to take against the like undead factions. 120 models with 7,200 HP, so pretty tanky. Maybe you bring these guys in conjunction with like the Plague Pack and give them immune to Psych, and they just kind of sit in combat and act kind of like a chaffier version of the ROR Battle Pilgrims. Could be very interesting to see how they do. Ikit Claw over here, the new Lord. He is fantastic. He's going to be rocking some magic missiles and a little bit of range here. This is going to be him on his wonderful new Doom Wheel with 110 armor, 70 leadership, 72 speed. Decent melee stats as well, 35 and 41, not bad. 323 weapon strength with some AP. Not amazing, but very good for Doom Wheel stuff. You're just going to be trolling around, just kind of crashing through lines. 60 charge bonus. The ammunition is very nice. Very strong. 237 missile damage with magic. So this guy could be a very fun one to take against the Counts, maybe, because, you know, you worry about like Mortis engines, things like that sometimes. Could be solid against Black Coaches as well. Very hard to snipe Lord in comparison. We noticed that during the tournament. It was very tough to bring him down on that Doom Wheel. He's very durable. But yeah, he's got Encourage, his Terror, Fear, Missile Resistance, and a couple other abilities. He is a spellcaster, so he can bring, I want to say it's Lore of Ruin. It's very good stuff. Unlimited power here, greatly improved power recharge rate and power reserves. So very nice. Basically like a Skaven Arcane Conduit almost here. Ikit Claw on foot. He's going to be anti-large with fire and magic damage, 110 armor, 70 leadership. Actually pretty fast too, considering how beefy he is with 40 speed. And he's going to have 370 AP with anti-large, 30 charge bonus, and he's going to have some ammunition. 1,038 missile damage with, I believe that's the leadership penalty, or maybe blinded. I don't remember, but yeah, magic and fire. So this also could be another option against like Coast or Counts. Maybe even the Tomb Kings, where he's anti-large, like Foot Lord, that's kind of hard to take out. Heavy armor with some good traits with magic and fire. Next up, we have the Council Guard, the Storm Vermin with Halberd ROR. These guys, another fantastic unit, Unbreakable and Guardian. You put Ikit on foot in this, and it's going to be very hard to remove him. Very interesting unit with the armor piercing, 100 leadership because, you know, unbreakable, 38 speed. The melee defense is very noticeable here, 44. So it's going to be very tough to remove them. 27 weapon strength with AP anti-large, not very high, but it's 120 unit models. So you're getting this 120 times if a monster like tries to plow through the unit and gets stuck in them, things like that. So it's very nice. Low charge bonus because, you know, Stormvermin with Halberds, very defensive unit. But 7,400 HP is no joke. Very, very good. They do have the charge defense against large. So I can see this combo being frequently used. You pair these guys up on foot and then maybe go for a few of these Jezzails or something like that, 1 or 2 on your flanks. Cover them with a few more units of infantry and a few of these Doomflares. Could be very, very strong. Next is the Rattling Gun weapons team. We have not seen them yet, probably because for 145 range on a 24 unit model, you could instead go for the Jezzails, which they have less missile damage, but they have significantly longer range. And they also have 22 rounds of ammunition, so not bad at all. 15 rounds of ammunition on the Rattling Guns. They are anti-infantry and armor piercing, and I believe they provide a slow effect, so stuff can't really move as quickly. So very good, but you have to kind of let your opponent get into a closer range, which most people seem to prefer the safe pick of having the snipers at very long range to threaten high priority targets before they get close enough to be within range of like the Rattling Guns. So hopefully we see a little more of these guys, but again, this is a lot more of like a brawly close quarters kind of unit versus the Jezzails, which are very, very anti-cavalry, like you want to delete things before you engage kind of thing. Next, we have Iket's Zap Zap Warp Lightning Cannon. So siege artillery here. I don't know how prominent this is going to be. I think it could be very good against like Tomb Kings, for example. We have 430 range. Pretty basic stats, Warp Lightning Cannon wise. Maybe a little bit better, just because it is an ROR. But the big thing is its missile damage is armor piercing. It is magic, but it has the ability to add recharge time on hit, so 10 seconds here for ability recharge. So it could be nice against like counts or coast where you're trying to like stop invocations or Nahex. I don't know how useful that's going to be though, because it is just 10 seconds. So unless it's stackable, if it's one of those things where like you hit it and like the 10 seconds is applied and you can't add another 10 until it's done, I don't know if it's going to be worth it, because sure, maybe you forestall something for 20-30 seconds at the start of the game, but you're really going to need this late game, and chances are your Warp Lightning Cannon may or may not end up compromised by then, or they may pull out of range, things like that. Like, I don't know how consistently reliable this is going to be. So I think situationally it could be very good, but I don't know how often it's going to be used compared to like the Jezzails, which are going to be very strong, like elite unit deleters, basically. And you know there's a problem with Warp Lightning Cannons. They're not super accurate. So sometimes you're not even hitting the target when it looks like you should be. So we'll see. We'll keep an eye on that one. Next up, we got Teethbreakers, the Rattling Gun ROR weapon team. These guys with very high weapon strength, you can see going from 339 to 412 with that missile damage, still providing that AP and whatnot. They do have an ability. I don't remember what it is. I think it might be the... it looks like it might be the thing that... Gutter Runners have, or the, yeah, something like that. Gutter Runners or the Night Runners, where they can pop it and they either stealth or provide a slow, some nonsense like that. But again, they're just kind of like a buffed up version of our wonderful Rattling Guns over here, going from 1616 to 2024, so a little more survivable. Other than that, just a little increase in weapon damage and the ability here. Not sure how often you'll see these guys, because again, I'd rather invest in Jezzails, which are going to be more reliable at long range to take things out quicker than having to worry about getting in close and then protecting them while they're trying to get their damage done. Could be interesting to see. Hopefully we see him tomorrow, though. Wheels of Doom, ROR Doom Wheel. This guy, bit of a beast. A lot of armor with 100. Again, very fast, 72 speed, high melee defense, and then weapon strength and missile damage not looking bad here. So again, basically just a buffed up Doom Wheel. There's no special abilities on this guy. He's a fear and terror causer, but basically just a little higher leadership, more speed, more punch. And lastly for today, we're going to see the Dwarf Thing Menace, which is the ROR Doomflare, looking very solid. This unit could be pretty fantastic. Not only does it have like all of the wonderful AP benefits of like this basically mini Doomwheel chariot unit that we see up here as well. But we're also getting a little bit of a buff to leadership, going from 60 to 70. Speed, still 72, 72, but we get into the melee attack, melee defense. We're looking at 32 versus 26, and it causes armor sundering. So not only is it AP anti-infantry, but your support units, like clan rats and things like that, are going to be doing a lot better against things that it's engaged with because you're sundering the armor. You're dropping that armor by 30. These guys are going to be pretty brutal. Not sure on the cost on these guys, but if they're not too expensive, I don't really see a reason why not to bring them. They're providing mass, they're providing armor sunder for your support units to be able to do very well in damaging like cavalry and things like that. And they themselves have AP anti-infantry. So you take this against like Dawi, and it could be very good. Very good. Health is still the same as well. But yeah, very exciting stuff. This does also cause fear. So, you know, you bring this against, in a mirror match, for example, against Skaven, this could be very useful. You're causing some fear. You got the AP anti-infantry. You do some armor sundering to some storm vermin, maybe. But yeah, exciting stuff, guys. Exciting stuff. All new changes coming to Total War Warhammer. A lot of matchups are going to be changing. I think Chaos is going to be putting on the back burner. I have been a Chaos main for a long time. I'm probably going to continue to main Chaos, but I'm scared. A lot of these units are going to be very effective against Chaos, and I think Dwarves too. Dwarves are going to be getting a little down-tiered as far as the brackets go for the faction hierarchy. I'm seeing Skaven being at least mid-tier to top-tier. Lizardmen will probably be upper-middle tier. I don't think anything they have is too crazy that it's going to be nuts. Lord Croak might be one of those units that may or may not end up needing balancing with his ability. You could see it was very effective in the matchup where he was brought by Falcon. But we'll see. We'll see. It's looking like we're going to have a very interesting DLC coming our way. So, very exciting. I hope you guys enjoyed. Feel free to comment down below what you think about these new units. Like, where is your head at? What are you excited for? Are you going to be a Skaven or Lizardman main now? What faction do you play, and how do you think this is going to affect your matchup? But yeah, let's get the speculation rolling, and hopefully we'll have a good finish to the Everchosen, and we'll get to see who's going to be crowned the king. But yeah, have a good one, guys.